Another damn meeting. Can't do anything without a meeting. I've got work to do. I don't need to waste my time listening to more useless information.
Yeah, I like it.
Relax, we'll be here a while. We're going to show you a video.
Battling the smoke and the fire and the fumes and the flame inside. There have been no more reported injuries since the earlier 50, but were treated for smoke inhalation. But I feel very bad for the men on those cherry pickers who are still just a few feet away from the windows, squirting streams of water in there.
Wow, that's some fire.
Hey, what's this all about? Wow, look at that smoke.
Meanwhile, in Illinois, firefighters and telephone employees are working furiously to repair the damage from last night's major fire at the Hinsdale Central Office. That fire affected more than 500,000 customers in the Midwest.
Oh, that's Hinsdale. That's a telephone building on fire.
Major fires in telephone company central offices nationwide, such as Bushwick and 2nd Avenue, have devastated service, not to mention plant and equipment.
Gee, that's terrible. Surely that couldn't happen here.
Battalion Chief Joseph Riley said that the smoke and the heat and the damage were beyond belief.
Everybody felt bad about it. Anybody that's been in a phone company for as many years as we have feels bad about it.
There isn't a telephone man alive that doesn't have something in his throat when he stands outside a building as big as this one and watches that black smoke pouring out through those windows.
I've been working for the telephone company for 20 years. It just breaks my heart to see something like this. A mainframe just ruined. What the heck are we gonna do? What the heck are the people gonna do? We serve thousands of customers out of this central office.
Look at that. Just like ours. If that was this office, we'd have 60,000 customers out of service. Wonder how many jumpers went up in that. How many man-hours?
I guess you don't know until something like this happens. Just how much all this means to you. You come to work every day and then suddenly, everything's ruined. It's a bit like your own home caught on fire. I just never thought it could happen here. I mean, you read about this and you hear about it, but you say that's someone else, that's someplace else.
I wonder if anybody was caught in that. Man, that could have been me. Well, I guess something like that really would affect me. I've got 15 years. I don't want to see everything wasted.
Those fires all happen to typical telephone company employees, people just like you and me. I know you're concerned about the company. We all are. But you figure it can't happen to me. Let me tell you, it can happen. And it did happen to some of our fellow employees. Fire prevention and safety. That's what this program is all about. In order to understand all the things that central office employees need to know about fire prevention and firefighting, first of all, we need to understand company policy on the subject. No, I'm not about to list a whole bunch of practices and letters. All I'll try to do is to explain what the company expects of all of us, what it means, how it works. As you know, the company has environmental reviews, periodic inspections to make sure all safety practices are being met. The inspections cover many areas, and they have specific guidelines. One of those areas that you have some control over is the combustible material policy. Let's take a look at some of that policy. Rubbish, trash, debris, other flammable material must be removed from the building every day and disposed of safely outside. Oily rags, wiping towels, must be kept in a metal container. Hey, come on, guys, just common sense, right? Teletype paper, computer paper, technical papers should all be kept in a metal container. Did you know that tub files are no longer permissible in equipment areas? Nope, they're not allowed. There are some other items covered by the combustible policy, which we'll talk about a little later. Most of them you can figure out yourselves, I'm sure. Common sense. We also have a fire safety plan. The objective of the plan is to provide instructions and procedures for the continued monitoring and enforcement practices and to provide for the safety of all persons during a fire emergency. Whew, you hear that? I sound just like a memo. Hey, what it means is a guide to fire prevention and safety, all right? And that's what this whole thing is all about, fire prevention and safety. The plan has been updated, and it's more detailed, so there's no doubt what to do. Let me give you, for instance. The old plan said, place scrap wire in the appropriate container. The new plan says, scrap wire should be enclosed in a metal container equipped with a lid that has a fusible link. Pretty detailed, huh? Because this stuff's important. Every central office is different. If you're like me, you've worked in enough of them to know that. Because they're all different, the fire safety plan has to be a bit different for each one. The basic principles are the same, and the basic idea is the same. Safety for the employees and securing service for the customers. But in each CO, there's a plan to fit your specific situation, and your supervisor will fill you in on the details after this program. But the most important factor is always the good judgment of the employees on the scene. You'll probably hear me say that a lot. It's important. Because of the Hinsdale situation, we have a new practice called Joint Practice 130, which outlines departmental responsibilities and provides easy reference for all employees. It puts all practices, policies, which have something to do with fire protection and prevention into a single source. Just makes everything a whole lot easier to understand. We learned a couple of things at Hinsdale. We think that one of the problems there was arcing between armored cable and power cable, and we think that may have been caused during cable mining. We need to be really careful when we're pulling armored cable out of those racks that we don't rub it up against other cable and possibly cause a break in the insulation. Another thing, from now on, we won't even put those cables, armored cable, powered cable, and communication cable, together in a rack. You'll probably be hearing a lot more on all this, maybe even from your local supervisor. We've made a big change in the simultaneous dispatch procedures, too. Used to be, when we received an alarm from a fire or smoke detector, we would send an employee to investigate and notify the building supervisor. No more. Now, we call the fire department first, and then we send one of us to investigate.
Yeah? If the fire department gets there first, they could do more damage than the fire.
There's good reason for the change. It means better response, less lost time, increased safety for our employees, and less risk of loss of service for our customers. We can do this because of pre-planning. Yeah, I know, every central office is unique. And because of the different types of equipment, it can really be confusing to the firefighters. That's why a pre-planning guide is prepared for the fire department to tell them about central office buildings. It gives them an idea what to expect, and it might possibly save some of our equipment from drowning. Your supervisor is going to brief you on some local procedures which have to do with simultaneous dispatch. Hey, did you know there's a fire safety occupant responsibility policy? In other words, your responsibilities. There is, and we'll get to it later in the session. You know, it's great that the company has given so much thought to this matter of fire safety. It's been great for us and our personal safety, and for protecting all this equipment, which is our livelihood. But you know, we can't pass the buck on this and say, hey, the company's got it covered, because the danger's too big to take a chance. All the words aren't going to make any difference if we don't use our heads. It's our safety and the safety of other employees that's important, not to mention our customer service. What we do about fire prevention, or about stopping a fire if one does get started, is what really counts. Let me tell you this story. No, I'll tell you that later. But it'll show you what can happen when one guy does what he's supposed to. We've run tests to show how cable catches fire. We think we know more about how the Hinsdale fire got started, which means that we can prevent that happening again if we get our act together. Another problem which Hinsdale showed us. We have no formal procedure for disconnecting DC power if it appears that DC is contributing to the problem.
Disconnecting power? We've got backup systems after backup systems to keep power on. You kidding me?
Now, most of us have spent a lot of our time figuring out ways to make sure we don't lose power. We've made so sure we don't lose power We couldn't get rid of it in Hinsdale.
Sounds crazy to have telephone people trying to shut down power.
Well, at Hinsdale, we found out that in an emergency, you've got to be able to disconnect DC quickly. Again, every CO has a different setup. Specific procedures for your office will be covered at the end of this video by your supervisor. Good fire prevention practices require that we do more than just follow established procedures. We've got to think, too. We've got to be alert to other situations. Maybe some simple thing no one thought of before as a potential fire hazard. I bet I could come to your central office and find a situation that could cause a fire real easily. For a lot of reasons, safety, the security of the network, it's up to all of us to try to find those situations and take care of them before they cause problems. What do you say we take a look at a typical CO and see what happens? Come on. Remember when we talked about fire safety occupant responsibility? Well, that's meant for anybody who's ever in the building at any time. That means you, and it covers anything you might see. There's a good example. Fire safety doors must be closed. If there should be a fire, the air rushing through here would just sweep the flames into the next part of the building. A disaster. If you see a hazard that can be safely corrected, do it. If you can't correct the hazard safely, tell a supervisor. That's what responsibility means. Fire doors, combustible materials storage, access to exits. Those are all part of our responsibilities. But look up there. An open vertical shaft. Same kind of thing. If a fire broke out in this room, it could go right up that shaft into the floor above, and then who knows? Hey, fire travels fast. You give it a chance, and you're in a bunch of trouble. Right. Good work finding that. Okay. This just isn't the best way to store empty boxes under our policy. This stuff is combustible. It's a hazard just lying on the floor like this. It needs to be in here. Remember we talked about cable mining and the hazards? Well, they're doing some cable mining here. The supervisor said they found the problem. Right. Climb on up, take a look. Broken insulation. It probably happened when someone dragged the arm. Here's another thing. Obviously, you work with books and schematics. Can't give that up, right? But it's paper. Again, use your head. Don't leave it out overnight. What can I tell you? Somebody screwed up. Let me tell you about Sam. Sam and I have worked for the telephone company for, well, a long time. This is Sam's desk. Sam likes wood. Problem is, wood burns. Now, if Sam's desk catches on fire, if things get out of hand, lots of smoke, and we have to get out in a hurry, look at this. We can't get out of here. Those are some of the more common problems. You might want to take a look around your office to see what you can find. Meantime, let's play a game. We'll take a look around some other areas, and you can see how many situations you can find and figure out what you might do about them. Grab a pencil and jot these down as you see them, or keep them in mind. No combustible material in a shaft room. And there's a radiator back there. You identify the hazard. Then, if you can safely do something about it, you do. Remember, tub files are not permissible in an equipment room. Combustibles next to a heat source? When you're working, stuff accumulates. That's okay. But don't leave it overnight. Again, wire belongs in a metal container. Do I have to explain these? But if you feel you can't handle the problem safely, notify your supervisor and get help. Simple, huh? But real important. Okay, if we can prevent fires by being alert, great. But we all know that the possibility of fire is always around us. If fire does break out, the first line of defense in trying to knock it down is the fire extinguisher.
You kidding me? I never handled a fire extinguisher. I know where they are, but hey, I don't know what to do with the...
Hey, wait a minute. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking there's no way you could do that in an emergency. But you'd be surprised what you can do when you're properly prepared. Not long ago, in Oklahoma City, an employee in one of our buildings was faced with an emergency situation, and he dealt with it.
Had a little bit of anticipation or anxiety, I guess, about using that fire extinguisher, although I've used them in the past, on 480 volts. Worked great, squirted it, put the fire out almost instantly. Just one burst of the fire extinguisher.
Okay, you can do it if you have to. And we'll hear the complete story on that later. But right now, let me show you. I need a volunteer. You.
Who? Me?
Yeah, get in here.
How?
Just get in here.
Okay.
Come on. Come on in. Come on, don't be afraid. Come on.
Wow, this is great. Must be new technology. Is it still the same pay scale?
Well, we pretty much do it for the glory.
Oh, well, it is kind of impressive. Hi, guys, I'm on TV.
Today, the first thing I'm going to do is teach you how to use a fire extinguisher.
Well, I don't know if I can do that.
You can handle it.
Okay.
First of all, make sure you know the locations of fire extinguishers. In general, you'll find 3 kinds of extinguishers in a central office. They work with water, CO2, or halon. There's a 4th kind, dry chemical, in the telephone company, but that should never be used in equipment or data processing areas, and usually isn't found in a central office. Fires are classified by what is burning. The kind of extinguisher you use depends on what is burning. If the fire is paper, cardboard, or wood, called a Class A fire, you can use the traditional method of dealing with fire. You get water on it. That comes from a Class A extinguisher, clearly labeled. Those extinguishers should never be used on flammable liquids like oils or grease, or on electrical fires. Never. It's dangerous to you. If you're faced with a paper or wood fire and you think you can safely try to deal with it, get the water extinguisher off the wall. It weighs about 30 pounds. Not real heavy, but be careful you don't drop it on your foot. The extinguisher has a range of about 30 to 40 feet. Get as close to the fire as you safely can. Place the extinguisher on the floor, remove the hose from the clip, remove the pin. Lift the extinguisher and aim the hose at the base of the fire at the point closest to you. Squeeze the valve handle and work the stream in a sweeping motion until the fire is completely extinguished. The material should be saturated so it does not flare up again. You've got enough water for about 1 minute's continuous use. You may want to stop the stream at some point and restart it, and that's easy. Just release the valve handle until you're ready for more water. Never, never put the extinguisher back on the wall after use. Make sure your fire marshal or supervisor knows it has been used. Okay, the CO2 extinguisher is used to fight fires involving flammable liquids such as oil or grease, Class B fires. Common sense now. If you squirt water on burning liquid, it'll spread the liquid all over. Then you have a bigger fire than you had before. The CO2 extinguisher smothers the fire by depriving it of oxygen. Remove the unit from the wall. It weighs about 30 pounds. Place it on the floor, free the nozzle, and remove the pin. The extinguisher has a relatively short range, 3 to 5 feet. Direct the nozzle at the base of the fire with one hand while you hold the tank by the handle with the other. When you squeeze the handle grip, a cloud of carbon dioxide is released through the nozzle. Work with a side-to-side motion starting at the base of the fire at the point closest to you. You have about 30 seconds of capacity. Important safety note. The horn of the nozzle will get extremely cold. Do not hold the nozzle. Keep your hand on the grip of the horn. Again, never return the extinguisher to the wall. Tell the fire marshal or your supervisor. CO2 extinguishers can also be used for electrical fires, Class C fires, but they are damaging to the equipment. Halon extinguishers are the type you will most likely find in a central office. Halon can be used for Class A, B, and C fires. Burning paper and wood, for instance. Liquid fires, and very important, fires in electrical equipment. Remember, you cannot safely use water on an electrical fire. The electricity can be conducted along the water and injure or kill you. Water or CO2 will also damage the electrical equipment. Safety first. Use Halon on electrical equipment fires. That's why it's available. Remove the unit from the wall. It can weigh up to 15 pounds, not too heavy, but be careful. Hold the unit by the handle and pull the pin. The Halon is discharged in a mist with an effective range of 10 to 12 feet. Direct the nozzle at the base of the fire. Squeeze the handle. When you release the grip, it stops the flow. You have only about 15 seconds of mist, but the Halon is very effective. Work with a sweeping motion from the base of the fire upward. Keep an eye on the source of the fire in case it flares up again. When Halon is used on a fire, it produces a vapor which can be irritating to breathe, so avoid inhaling a lot of it. And, of course, make sure the extinguisher gets recharged. Okay, now it's your turn to take a crack at it. Your local supervisor will now demonstrate the use of fire extinguishers, and everyone will get some hands-on experience. Okay, you've come a long way. We've covered some good general rules. We've talked about fire prevention. You've probably learned how to handle a fire extinguisher. Now the test. One day you go into a room and there's a fire. What do? Okay, John, let's talk about what you do. You walk into a room and there's a fire. Okay. Now go to it. Right. Hey, way to go, John. You're doing great. Now you determine the extent of the fire. If you feel you can safely handle the fire situation, you should try to put the fire out, but only after you make sure you have a way out. Do not ever put yourself in a position where if the fire escalates, you're trapped. Always, always figure out an escape route before trying to extinguish a fire. Fourth and finally, you should meet the firefighters and let them know everything you can about the situation. If you were able to knock the fire out, show them where it was. If you were not able to put it out, get them to the scene and tell them if all the employees are out, and if not, where they might be. Tell them about any hazards, chemicals for instance, which might be near the fire, and any other information about the building that they might need. Hey, nice job, John. But what about the simultaneous dispatch policy? Let's talk about that for a second and see what steps are necessary. Let's say you're sent to an office where you suspect there may be a fire situation. The fire department has already been called by the person who sent you. Maybe the firefighters are already there, in which case you just go straight to step 4. Meet with them and tell them everything you can about the building, the people, and the contents. But maybe the fire department isn't there yet. First and foremost, keep in mind your safety. Only enter an area when you are sure you will not be in danger. After you determine the nature of the fire situation, proceed with the steps we've already outlined. Okay, since it's simultaneous dispatch, you can eliminate step 1, call for help. That's already been done. Remember, it is important for your safety that you determine when you should fight a fire and when you should back away from the situation. Do not risk your life to put out a fire. The fire department will most likely be there very soon. If you have any doubts, back away. There are other important considerations when dealing with fires. One of the most dangerous is smoke. Be careful not to inhale much smoke, and be mindful of how much smoke is between you and escape. Remember, more people are affected by smoke in fires than from flames. Another source of great danger is heat. Some fires can produce enormous amounts of heat. Heat rises, of course, so you can escape some of the heat by crawling. You can quickly become disoriented in a fire situation. Because of the smoke and heat, it's very easy to become confused and lose your way around. Obviously, that can be extremely dangerous. Safety first. Most situations can be handled safely if you use common sense. Remember earlier we introduced you to a guy from Oklahoma, and I promised to tell you the story? Well, not long ago, we had a situation in Oklahoma City which could have been really dangerous. Let me show you what happened. Tom Reynolds is the building manager of a big central office in Oklahoma City. When he heard a loud noise one day, he went to investigate.
When I got to this point right here, I realized that there was a fire in the bus duct right up here above us. It was shooting out approximately, 6 to 8 inches above the bus duct at that time, the flames was. Set my coffee cup down, and I ran over to get the fire extinguisher that was over here by the exit leaving this particular floor. I came back with approximately 15 feet, tried to pick me out a very safe area to use, as I have demonstrated the use of fire extinguishers before. But I wasn't too sure about what it would do on this 480-volt bus duct. So very carefully, I give it one burst of the extinguisher, and it put the flame out almost immediately.
Tom knew he had to let the people in BOCC know what was going on.
I run upstairs to let them know and to get an electrician down here, since this was in the main building electrical bus. As I arrived back on the scene, it had again flamed out. I grabbed my fire extinguisher, once again squirted it very briefly with the fire extinguisher, putting it out.
Remember the new power disconnect policy? Well, there wasn't any such policy when Tom put the fire out, but we got lucky.
It shorted out the system all the way to the main bus panel, or correction, the main breaker for this building, putting the complex totally without electricity.
But Tom wasn't through with fires. The poor guy had another one in his CO when a rectifier caught on fire.
It set off 3 detectors that we have in the ceiling of this space here, bringing on an instant alarm.
With the fire department on the way, a security guard went down to investigate.
As I opened the door, I smelled acrid smoke and observed that the room was full of smoke. At that point, I immediately closed the door, went upstairs to speak to the fire department.
Sounds like simultaneous dispatch worked. By the way, the fire was confined to the rectifier. Nice job.
Well, it really helped to see that guy in Oklahoma City who handled the situation.
Well, you did pretty good yourself.
Yeah, well, it still makes me pretty nervous.
Hey, John, let me tell you something. Over the years, we've had our share of fire situations. Austin, San Antonio, Little Rock, Wichita, Kansas City, St. Louis, Tulsa. Hey, the list goes on and on. We've had fire situations that could have been really dangerous, but they were taken care of by local people doing the right things. Some of them didn't get a lot of publicity for one reason or another, but they happened.
Wow, you mean we had one right here?
Yeah. And you know what all that means? The bad news is we need a lot more work on fire prevention. The good news is that if things do go wrong, we have the kind of people who can deal with it.
Yeah, well, I guess if you're ready, you can surprise yourself.
You got it. It's up to all of us to be fire safety conscious and prepared to handle a fire situation for our safety and the safety of our co-workers, and to assure continuous service for our customers. After I'm through, your supervisor will discuss specific fire safety items that apply to your location. The supervisor will also have a question and answer session for you. Remember, you can prevent this. Thanks a lot, John.
Hey, thank you. This has been fun. What if I stay around for a while?
I don't think you can. You really got to get back to the meeting for lunch.
Oh, lunch. Good idea. Oh, you'll probably need that back.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
There you go. Call for help. Determine the extent of the fire. Check your escape route. Try to extinguish the fire. Meet the firefighters. This is a Fire Fresh document. Everything you need to know about fire prevention and safety is available to you under Joint Practice 130. Fire Fresh.
Once upon a time, a miller's daughter named Eloise was locked in the king's dungeon with orders to spin straw into gold before sunset.
Gee willikers, I can't turn this stuff into gold. What am I going to do?
Stop spinning your wheels and show the king how he can really turn time into money.
Who said that?
I did. Now, you really want to help the king? Give him this. The FD8100 two-line directory phone.
Well, it looks nice, but what's so special about this phone?
Well, let me show you.
The little man explained that the FD8100's directory stores 150 names and numbers. Once the memory is programmed, users can dial names instead of numbers.
Well, it sounds simple, but the king's not very good with names or numbers.
He doesn't have to be. The FD8100 can remember even the most unusual names and numbers.
Oh, great.
Eloise could see that the FD8100 has a built-in LCD that displays the name and number dialed. It also offers a scan feature which allows users like the king to scroll through all the names or numbers stored.
With a directory like that, wouldn't the king have to keep the FD8100 under lock and key? I mean, a lot of those names and numbers are probably top secret.
His Highness can hide those numbers in the FD8100's secret memory.
The secret memory allows the user to program an access code along with the phone number for more privacy. When the user wants to call that number, he or she simply enters the access code and the number is dialed automatically.
Wow, this FD8100 could really save time for His Majesty.
You're not kidding. And that's not all. Look at these other great features.
The little man showed Eloise all the things an FD8100 can handle, like last number redialing, conference calling, and a 10-number memory for one-touch direct dialing.
And it has a hold button, a pause button, and a pulse tone switch.
Oh, and what's this nifty little thing?
That's a built-in speakerphone.
Gosh, this FD8100 is going to make His Majesty happier than any pile of gold would have.
I know.
Oh, thank you. Mwah.
Oh, well, just trying to be of service. Well, gotta go.
Wait! When the king asked me the source of this wonderful discovery, what name shall I give him?
This is my favorite part. You'll just have to guess.
Well, should I tell him it came from Knobby Knees?
No.
Or Scraggly Beard? Or how about Fly By Night?
No.
Or how about Rumpelstiltskin?
Just tell him it's...
The FD8100, the memory phone that takes the guesswork out of calling. Stay tuned for another phony fairy tale after this brief message from Southwestern Bell.
Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southwestern Bell. Southw What if everyone in America lived on one street? You'd have millions of personalities, side by side. And if this place existed, Southwestern Bell would have a phone for everyone, and every place. From the traditional to the not so traditional. Even phones you dial with your voice. So for your phone, call on Southwestern Bell. Don't be the last on your block.
Once upon a time, there was a ruler and small businessman named King Midas. Many believed his success was the result of his magical ability to turn things into gold with a simple touch. But the real reason Midas was so successful was because he owned an FT412 multi-line system phone. This remarkable system plugs into a standard wall jack and needs no KSU.
Goldschmidt, hello. Be sure and feed the royal goldfish today. Thank you.
The FT412 can expand from 1 to 4 lines and up to 12 stations.
Goldberg, please be sure and water my majestic marigolds. Yes, thank you.
The FT412 has a 20-number memory for direct dialing with just a touch.
Goldman, there's a confidential matter I want to discuss with you.
It also includes a privacy feature to prevent someone at another station from accidentally interrupting a line in use.
There's a nasty rumor going around about Goldsmith.
Midas, can you pick up line 2?
Hold on, Goldman. I'm being paged.
The FT412 features an FM intercom that allows the user to page as many as 4 other lines.
Who is this?
It's your wife, Goldie. I'm taking your golden retriever for a walk.
Oh, thank you, my dear. Yeah, Goldman, I'm back. Let's get Goldstein on the line, and the 3 of us can talk about this.
The FT412 is loaded with features like conference calling, status indicators, and last number redialing.
Thank you, my good men, for the info. I'll call Goldsmith in right away. Goldsmith, please report to my chambers at once. Oh, Goldsmith. You know, Goldman and Goldstein tell me that you've been gold bricking. Is that true?
Oh, no, Your Highness.
Good. And you've been keeping the golden rule, haven't you?
Oh, yes, Your Highness.
Very good, Goldsmith. Sorry, Goldsmith. Say, would it make you feel any better if I let you try my FT412?
Oh, gee, Your Majesty, I don't think I could do that. Besides, I don't have the Midas touch.
You don't need it, my boy. The FT412 will turn anyone's efforts into gold.
The FT412 multi-line phone. It can help your business live happily ever after. We'll return with another phony fairy tale after this brief message from Southwestern Bell.
Open the door to greater productivity with 4 new deliveries from Southwestern Bell Freedom Phone. Southwestern Bell has expanded its line of home office equipment with products and features you need. Give your business the boost it deserves with the Freedom Fax personal facsimile machine with integrated feature phone. The FD8100 2-line directory phone is the phone that dials names, not numbers, with its 150 name memory. An FT412 self-installable business phone is the perfect standalone unit. It features an FM intercom and expands up to 4 lines and 12 stations. The FS900B executive set and the FS246B key service unit let you know immediately which lines are in use. Deliver Southwestern Bell quality to your home office with one of our new products. Let freedom ring from Southwestern Bell.
Once upon a time, Little Red Riding Hood was visiting her grandmother, who also ran a very successful business from her home office. Little Red noticed that her granny wasn't quite herself today.
Something looks fishy here. I'd better call the Grandparents Preservation Hotline on Granny's Freedom Fax FX2 with integrated feature phone.
The Freedom Fax FX2 has all the features any home office might need, including a 20-number one-touch memory, a pulse tone switch, automatic redial, chain dialing, and it's built to the quality standards you'd expect from Southwestern Bell.
Hello, hotline? Yes, my Granny looks awfully unusual. Like what? Well, her paws, her hands are gigantic. What should I do? Send you a picture on Granny's Freedom Fax. Okay. Gosh, what big hands you have, Grandma.
Well, Rad, all the better to operate the FX2, my dear.
The FX2 is perfect for text and pictures because it features a 16-level grayscale for improved reproduction.
Not the hands of any grandma we know. Send more info. My, what big eyes you have, Grandma. Maybe I'd better send a sketch of those also.
Big eyes? Big eyes? All the better to see the displays on the Freedom Fax, my dear.
Well, we'll see.
The Freedom Fax FX2 offers a clock display and a feature activation display that are easy to read.
Definitely not Betty Davis eyes. Proceed cautiously and fax us one more sketch. Wow, what big choppers you have, Granny.
All the better to smile at the speed and efficiency of the Freedom Fax, my dear.
Owners of the Freedom Fax can't help grinning from ear to ear with features like standard and fine modes, G2 and G3 compatibility, thermal paper empty, copy function, and reliability they can count on.
This is not your Granny. It's a genuine BBW. BBW? Big Bad Wolf! Oh, my hero! Thanks, FX2.
When you need to send and receive info in a hurry, the Freedom Fax FX2 promises you a product to make your wishes come true from Southwestern Bell.
I feel rested, I really do. Darkly no much.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you all for coming today. There's something I've had on my mind the last couple of weeks. I'd like to share it with you.
Fire away, Henry.
Ted, I particularly want to thank you for coming. I know how busy you are running this company.
Never too busy for old friends, Henry. You know, we should get together more often.
Right. Tom, you just recently retired from the company, didn't you?
Sure did. You know, and I think back, it seemed like I spent most of my life at the company. It was a good life, too. When Mr. Bell first came up with that invention of his, though, I didn't see much application for it. Look at it now. We're talking to people halfway across town and all the way across the country.
Halfway across the country?
Yeah.
Charlie, how long have you been with the phone company?
Well, Henry, you and I both started out about the same time. 25, close to 30 years now. Most of those years we were the telephone company, but those first few years we were the telegraphers.
In those years, it is 30 years, yeah. Well, this is what I see happening. Take a look at these. That's my idea. Telephone pioneers. Because when you stop and think about it, that's what we are. pioneers. We were here 25, 30 years ago when things were just getting started. And I think it's important to keep those friendships going. What do you think? Yeah? It's hard to believe that the telephone pioneers of America began that long ago. Those 4 men felt that it was important that the friendships be continued after service to the company was completed. After all, they all had many things in common. While the initial proposal had suggested a requirement of 25 years of service, many of those who signed the original invitation to join letter had only 21 years of service. And that became the standard until just recently, when the service requirement for joining the pioneers was lowered to 16 years. Today, we are the largest industry-sponsored volunteer organization in the world, with over 750,000 members.
I guess it's sort of a recognition of a person's contribution to the industry. You were really felt like you were had arrived when you'd been there 21 years, you know. And they made quite a to-do about the fact that you became a pioneer.
And working together, you can accomplish an awful lot. And there's not anything any better than to be with telephone people working on some project.
There has not been any great change in the policy or the philosophy or the objective of pioneering, especially in the direction of caring for people.
Although the pioneers' original goal was fellowship and continuity of the service philosophy of the industry, it has expanded greatly. The pioneers reach out to the communities where they live and work. They find the human needs and fill them. There are pioneer chapters throughout the United States and Canada. And this is Region 4, made up of Arkansas, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas. And each state is made up of chapters, 9 of which are in Region 4. And since the foundation of the organization rests in its membership, each chapter takes on the personality of its members. Each chapter is made up of life members, regular members, pioneer partners, and future pioneers. Each fills a vital role in the organization.
Well, first of all is our regular member. This is an employee of either Southwestern Bell or AT&T who's been around with the companies for at least 15 years, and they also have elected to join the pioneers.
Most of the people think that pioneers are all older people having a good time together, but it's not. They've dropped the age limit on becoming members of pioneers, and it's really changed a lot of people's thoughts about the club, the councils. But it's, to be a pioneer is to be someone special.
I think my original perception of a pioneer was that of an older manager or employee who, as their career was waning, was interested in continuing on with the spirit of service that we all hold as very important, and that as they were finishing their company career, they would be active and move forward in their pioneering efforts and activities. However, now I realize that pioneering is something for everyone, and that pioneering is an activity that can be a part of everyone's life along with their company career.
The second one is I would talk about is a life member. A life member is one who fits the same category, but also, in addition to that, is retired. And our third category of membership is a partner. And a partner is a spouse of either a life member or a regular member who understands pioneering, supports it, and wants to be a part of that.
I didn't realize that the partners could even be involved. I mostly helped Gene and enjoyed doing the projects that he undertook, and then I gradually began to realize that I could be a big part of it as a partner on my own. So it was sort of a gradual process of becoming involved.
Our final category, the fourth category, is a future pioneer. And that's an employee who is neither a life member or a regular member or associate, but who's one who wants to be a member of the Pioneers and who incidentally has contributed about 20 hours of community service. And they are participating in pioneering. And they will join pioneering and become a full member when they've completed their tenure of employment.
And throughout Region 4, there are some very special pioneers.
I get great personal pleasure from helping handicapped children, and the Pioneers gives me the opportunity to serve my community, serve the children. The more you do, the more they find you and want you to do. And as soon as you express an ability and a willingness, why, you have no trouble finding work. I plan on continuing in this kind of work until probably 2 or 3 days before I die.
Things in the past year have been great. We've achieved a lot of goals in this chapter, and we're out here at the TPC course today. This year, on the Open, we raised over $200,000. I really enjoy it, and I enjoy the people that still come out, the old regulars. They're the backbone, and I enjoy the new people, the new future people that's coming out, and you can just see that growth, you know, and people, pioneering is well and alive. It'll be here a long time.
Oh, it always makes you feel good to get recognition, I think. Sometimes you wonder about recognition and why you get it for doing the things that you like to do. If it's one of these things that you get recognition for and you have to really toil at, maybe you expect it there and you don't expect it when you're having fun. This is a statewide project that is undertaken by Pioneers where our theme here is each one teach one. We know that literacy is a real problem, not only in the state of Arkansas, but in the nation. And we as Pioneers in the state of Arkansas have decided that statewide we will take that program on. And we have about 200 folks right now involved in each one teach one, hoping that we can make a difference.
Although each of these winners was selected by their peers to receive the recognition for their chapters, every Pioneer member makes a valuable and lasting contribution to their community. And the service to the community motto goes deep inside each member.
We share a love, a million heartbeats strong.
We share a faith that shines eternally young. We share a hope that rises up when in song, and when we face the test, to do our very best. No time to rest, we go where we belong. We're pioneers, we listen for the call. We're pioneers with pride and standing tall. And if you ask the essence of our creed, we're answering the call, answering the call. We're pioneers, we're answering the call of those in need.
Without volunteers like the Telephone Pioneers, you just couldn't do what's done and what needs to be done desperately. People like the Telephone Pioneers really challenge other people in our state to get involved, to try to solve problems one-on-one, to make a commitment to kind of reach out beyond their lives, and we're very grateful for that. And I think I could say without reservation on behalf of all the people in our state that we in Arkansas are very proud of the Telephone Pioneers and profoundly indebted to them for what they do to help all of us live better lives.
They're there anytime you want to call on them for something, that they're willing to give of themselves. It doesn't matter what the cause is. They're just there. People really who get pleasure out of giving of themselves to others.
The Telephone Pioneers of America is a strong organization. We got that way through the efforts of hundreds of thousands of telecommunications people around the world who care about others. People who are dedicated to service, and people young and old who believe, as our founders did, that there is more to life than just a job.
We share a love, a million heartbeats strong.
We share a faith that shines eternally young. We share a hope that rises up winning song. And when we face the test to do our very best, no time to rest, we go where we belong. We're pioneers.